Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is dismiss. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or ways that we use this verb. The first way you might hear dismiss used is to mean to send away. Sometimes connected this is the idea of giving someone permission to leave. You may have been in a class where a teacher says to the students, class dismissed, right? So this is the idea that the teacher is sending the students maybe on to their next class or home for the day, perhaps. A second way you might hear dismiss used is to mean to discharge from employment. And discharge might be new for you. Essentially, it means to fire someone, to remove them from their job, so they are no longer employed. A third way to use the verb dismiss is to mean to treat as unworthy of serious consideration. Connected to this definition, you'll many times hear someone's ideas, maybe their suggestions, as being dismissed. So they're not being given serious consideration. A fourth way to use the verb dismiss is to mean to intentionally stop thinking about something. So there are different things that can cause us to worry or maybe feel a bit anxious, and perhaps our friends, to be encouraging, will tell us, you just need to dismiss these thoughts. You need to stop thinking about this particular thing. A fifth way you might hear the verb dismiss used is to mean to refuse to continue to hear a legal case or a judicial case. So we'll look at a couple example sentences that discuss that, but this is a verb you might encounter if you follow a lot of court news. Then you're likely to encounter this. You should know that dismiss is a regular verb. To make the progressive form, all you need to do is add ing to form dismissing. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are made by adding ed. The base verb dismiss, right, ends in an S sound. So our past tense ending is going to make a T sound. Dismissed, dismissed. Now, I just have one additional phrasal verb and meaning for us to look at. It's the phrasal verb dismiss as. This is a phrasal verb we tend to separate. So we're going to see an object come between the verb and this participle or preposition. So the meaning of dismiss as is to reject something by viewing it in a particular way. I think of this phrasal verb as connecting back to the third definition we looked at. So we're not giving something serious consideration. We might be classifying it or labeling it in a particular way. Let's look at an example. We dismissed his idea as foolishness. Okay, so here we, whoever that group of people includes, look at the ideas and go, oh, that's silly, it's foolish, so we reject those ideas. We are not considering them. Now, let's spend just a moment looking at how to use our verb dismiss in the simple past tense and the simple future, and we're going to focus on be going to. Let's start with the simple past. We use this verb tense to talk about an action that was completed at a known point in the past. You might see time signals like yesterday or last month, or maybe even a specific date that is clearly in the past. Now, in all of our simple past tense sentences, there won't be time signals. It might be understood as being part of a conversation. So if we were having a conversation and I asked you about something that happened yesterday and you begin to describe it, you don't have to repeat yesterday. And maybe as I ask more questions, again, I wouldn't probably include yesterday unless I was really trying to stress something about that particular day. It would just be understood. That's what we're discussing. So in some of our examples here, you will see time signals, but in others, you might not. So let's take a look at our affirmative example first. And what you're going to notice here is that in the simple past tense, our structure is going to be the same no matter what the subject is. So we'll have our subject, and then we're going to have that ed form of the verb. You can see that here. The commission dismissed the complaint yesterday. So this particular sentence is connecting back to that fifth definition we looked at, kind of having a judicial or legal refusal to hear a case. Here it could be maybe a refusal to investigate a complaint or hear evidence that maybe someone has broken a particular rule or law. In the negative, in the simple past tense, we need to use did, not, and then the base verb. So we're not using the ed form in the negative. Here's another example. The Attorney General did not dismiss claims of election fraud. Okay, so again, here's another connection back to that fifth definition. But here they're saying they did not reject. So this might be a legal case that continues. If you want to make a yes or no question in the simple past tense, start with did, then you'll have your subject, and then the base verb. Here's another. Did the employer dismiss many workers in April 2020? So again, here's an instance where we have a specific date. We know that is in the past. And this question again is going back to firing. I think that was our second definition of this verb. Now let's take a look at the simple future. Today we're going to use be going to. And the only thing that might be a little difficult about this structure or formation of our verb tense here is that we need to remember to use the present form of be. So if our subject is I, we're going to use am. If our subject is you, we, or they, we'll use are, A-R-E. And if our subject is he, she, or it, we'll use is. And then after that, it's going to be the same. So we'll use a form of be, then going to, and the base verb. Here's our first example. The judge is going to dismiss the charges. Okay, so here someone might be making a prediction about what they think will happen in the future. If I want to make a negative simple future sentence using be going to, I need to insert not after our be verb. You can see that in this example. We aren't going to dismiss your suggestions. So here we are going to consider them. We'll give them serious thought. Finally, if you want to make a yes or no question in the simple future, start with the form of be, whichever form matches your subject, and that subject will come next, and then use going to and the base verb. Here's another. Is the school going to dismiss students early tomorrow? Okay, so here someone's asking a question about a plan. This ties back to that first definition we looked at earlier in the video. Now let's spend a little time looking at some words that are related to our verb dismiss. The first word we're going to look at today is the noun dismissal. Just like our verb, this noun can have a few different meanings. We'll look at three. The first is dismissal can mean the act of ordering or allowing someone to leave. An example of this, the school has early dismissal on Wednesdays, right? So this idea, they allow people to leave earlier than sort of the normal time on Wednesdays. A second way to use the noun dismissal is to mean the act of removing someone from employment. Here's an example of that meaning in a sentence. We can't discuss the dismissal of that employee. So we can't explain maybe why this person was removed. A third way to use the noun dismissal is to refer to a decision to not continue hearing a case. So again, this has sort of a judicial or legal meaning to it. An example of that, the dismissal of the case was a surprise to both attorneys. So maybe one had requested it, but kind of thought, we don't have a good shot. The judge agreed to dismiss, and that surprised the attorneys on opposite sides. The last word we'll look at today is the adjective dismissive. This means feeling or showing that something is unworthy of consideration. Here's an example of that. The manager is rather dismissive of her team's ideas. This adjective has a pretty negative meaning to it. So if it's being used to describe a person or the way they work with others, it's not done as a compliment. So just keep that in mind. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.